Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, to the 2.46 dev server, the first iteration of it. Everything is subject to change, but it is big news that we have to go through today, so this will be a long video. Get yourself some tea or coffee, whatever floats your boat, pun intended, and we'll get right into it. I will look at this patch only from the naval side, and we have today almost all the big names here, and Gaijin has done something that they were always capable of doing in theory but never actually did. They jumped, but they leave a gap. So yeah, let's go right into it. I'll go from the left side to the right side through the nations, and we'll talk about all the new modern battleships of World War II and slightly afterwards. So we will start with the USS Iowa at battle rating 8.7, coming at rank 7, and we have a big battle rating gap of 1.4, so basically 1.33 to the USS Tennessee, its predecessor, and we have no rank 6 premium yet. Maybe there'll be an announcement, maybe it will be another US standard, or maybe it will be the North Carolina class, maybe the South Dakota class, not the one from 1920, but the actual one with 9 16-inch 45s. The USS Iowa very famously fields the 16-inch 50 caliber Mark 7s, and we have a lot of ammunition. We have 5-inch 38s, a lot of Bofors, and 20 millimeters. We have no torpedoes, we have radar. The ship is relatively fast with 70 kilometers per hour, and I wanna start with the armor. This will not be an in-depth review like I intend to make on those ships if I find some time, but here we have some decapping plating, and behind this, as you can see, there is an inclined armor belt of over 12 inches or 307 millimeters. And the further away the plunging fire is, the bigger the effect of the angling will be. So at range, this is actually really effective. We have an almost complete all-nothing armor scheme. The bulkheads range from only 216 to 287 millimeters. The barbettes are really thick on the side with 440 millimeters. Turret face is also angled, but in the other direction with 432 millimeters, and we have then also some deck plating ranging from 120 millimeters in its entirety, even over the magazines, together with some splinter catching plating of 38 millimeters, or even below this 25 and 15, 16 millimeters over the machinery respectively. There is no turtleback, and that gives us the opportunity to look at first the rate of fire, because here we have 29.9 seconds, and that is great for the US. Finally a competitive battleship that not just has more 16-inch guns, but also longer caliber ones with shorter reload than the current ones. I actually didn't look it up, but I guess they all still have their 40 seconds, which is abysmal. And now let's have a look at the ammunition. The 406mm Mark 13 high capacity round has 68 kilograms, which is not bad, but the British still hold the record for the HE shell with the most TNT yield, with 88 kilograms on their 13.5-inch guns. And then we come to the 16-inch Mark 8 Mod 6 AP CBC, and I think that's actually the super heavy ones. They certainly have the statistics. Muzzle velocity is 762 meters per second, with a TNT yield of 18.18 kilograms. Not bad, but not too great as well. But at 10 kilometers, we have a penetration of 667 millimeters. That is huge. And even at 60 degrees angles of attack, we have 245 millimeters of penetration. That can go through a lot, and I mean a lot, of deck armor plating. The 5-inch 38s with their usual ammunition selection. Then an unimportant patrol boat that not even I care about, and we come to Germany. And Germany, well, they have at 7.7 a premium, the sister ship of the Scharnhorst, the Gneisenau, as a project with the rebuilt 15-inch guns. Sadly, the secondaries didn't get rebuilt as certain other games suggest, but also the increase in 37mm actual good AA is not there. Secondary is heavy. I absolutely love the look of the Gneisenau with the 15-inch guns. Also the top red turret painting, fantastic. This is fantastic. The armor is well known. We have a really thick belt of 320mm with a really effective turtleback behind it. Really interesting to see how that armor scheme will work out in random battles versus the new guns. We will see, right? We will see. So that is all that I'll talk about the armor here, because it is already known from the Scharnhorst. Then we come to the reload, and we can see that this 15-inch guns, that's the same one as on the Bismarck and the Tippets, have 22.7 seconds. That is great. That is great. And it's also great that there is no ammunition in the turrets, so no ready rack can blow up. But if the turtleback gets breached, well, you know, the ammo is slightly above the waterline. So it really depends. But again, battle rating of 7.7. What happens if you give the Germans one more gun? The battle rating goes up to 8.3 to the Bismarck herself. Personally, finally, there she is, right? I always wanted to see the Bismarck in War Thunder. The problem is these circumstances, because this is the Endgame Part 2 of Naval Forces. And yeah, she comes after the SMS Sachsen, and the armor isn't modeled in here. It's a complete placeholder, right? So I cannot tell you anything about the turtleback, its thickness, its effectiveness, how Gaijin will implement it. It would be hilarious if Gaijin actually releases the ship like this. That would be fantastic. But we can see that the reload rate here is the same with 22.7 seconds. And now let's have a look at the shells. We have the stock 380mm Sprenggranate L 4.6KZ. So with the normal nose fuse, the HE shell, 64 kilograms of TNT, not too bad. But then we come to the AP round, 18.8 kilograms of TNT, so a bit stronger than technically the Iowa super heavy AP shell. But the penetration is much lower, with 523 millimeters at 10 kilometers, and at 60 degrees angles of attack it is 20% less roughly, with just below 200 millimeters. That's still a strong gun, but not as strong as, you know, I was led to believe by certain YouTube videos from people with actual knowledge. But maybe it's a Gaijin thing, maybe I have the wrong numbers in mind, but therefore it's 8.3 and not 8.7. But again, it cannot see a lot of other battleships that it was kind of designed to fight from its original schemes and so forth. We will see how the armor holds up, how the firepower works out. It's a bit more on the high DPM side. We will see. Then we come to the glorious Sovetsky Soyuz, rank 7, battle rating 8.7, coming after the Arkhangelsk. We have the Sevastopol, to which we will come later, but this is basically a Kronstadt with Gneisenau gun setup and layout. Sovetsky Soyuz, yeah. She has absolutely a Yamato-esque look, I think. There is something about it that absolutely reminds me about the Yamato, and it's not just the two triple turrets in the front. The armor of the side plating, which is flat, ranges from 420 millimeters to 406 millimeters. We have some sort of half icebreaker there with 220 millimeters, bulkheads front 285 millimeters to 230 millimeters, and deck plating being 50 millimeters and 155 millimeters above this. The barbettes are absolutely massive with 425 millimeters. Turret faces also angled 495 millimeters. That's a lot of armor. The X-ray reveals no radio racks in the barbettes, and the ammunition is also below the waterline, and the first ammunition that you hit would be the shells, not the propellant charges. And we have here some really, quote here, sophisticated anti-torpedo protection systems. So will be interesting how it plays out. We have also big secondaries, and let's have a look at the reload, because here we have 28.6 seconds. Let's have a look at the ammunition, and we can see we have a stock SAP round with a whopping 88 kilograms. In the last summary of the various dev blocks, I read it wrong, and I thought this would be the AP, but don't worry, that is also hilarious. 88 kilograms is joining the ranks of the very high yield big AP or SAP rounds, or main artillery shells, that's the right terminology. It's now joining the British 13.5 inch HE round, also with 88 kilograms of yield, but it also has very high penetration for a SAP round, even at range, so that worries me a lot. And if this would be not enough, we have the 406mm AP-CVC round, pattern 1928, with a whopping 40 kilograms. That is the highest yield of any AP round in War Thunder, if I'm not mistaken. And we have a massive penetration of 660mm at 10 kilometers. That is 1% less than the Iowa. Yeah. And same goes here for the penetration at 10 kilometers at 60 degrees angles of attack. It's truly massive. This is some serious firepower with lots of armor. The only real weakness is that you have no real effective AA. But again, what do you actually fear, right? We come to Britain, and now it's getting interesting because we have the HMS Vanguard, and it fields 8 15-inch -42 BL Mark I cannons. That's the World War I gun that they put on the last battleship ever to be completed. And yeah, the armor is 355mm thick, but it's flat, no turtleback behind it. Bulkheads range from 254mm to 280 and 305mm. Deck armor ranges from 6 inches or 152mm over the magazines to 5 inches or 127mm over the machinery. And that now brings us to the reload, which is fair and square 30.2 seconds. Therefore you have a battle rating of 8.0. However, in the dev block it was specifically mentioned after the SAP round with 62 kilograms of TNT, but not the greatest penetration, that you have the standard Mark 17B APC. And that is correct. 21 kilograms of TNT and 475mm of penetration at 10 kilometers. However, you also get the 381mm Mark 22B SC APC, and SC stands for supercharged. We have it. It's effectively the same round, but now goes up to 532mm of penetration at 10 kilometers and 202mm at 60 degrees angles of attack. So this shell is slightly more powerful than the one on the Bismarck. And that's great for the Vanguard, but the reload on 8 guns, we will see how it actually plays out. However, the British also have no premium battleship. That brings us to Japan and the destroyer Yukikaze as a premium. You have 16 long lances, 2 twin 127mm guns, lots of 25mm. The normal guns have only HE. Yeah, you know the struggle, right? And that's it for Japan, except for the Yamato. Biggest battleship ever built. How could I forget it? Look at her. What a massive battleship that is. It truly brings a lot of scale to War Thunder, and this ship is an absolute legend. I do not think I have to introduce this ship to you. In the tech tree it comes after the IJN Fuso at rank 7, but again the Japanese have no premium battleships so far. Maybe some announcements will come later before the patch drops. Well, where to begin? Well, let's start with the armor, and we can see that we have 410mm belt plating, inclined at 18 degrees. So that means this is a very similar principle to what you can see on the Iowa, but it's really thick armor plating. So it's not, what was it, roughly 12 inches, but this is 16.1 inches if I'm not mistaken. And now we come to the bulkhead, and this is this infamous diamond shape. It's thick armor of 350mm and 300mm, but you never can angle it because you always have, like on the Porsche Tiger, this one corner that stands out and is more or less flat. So this, despite the inclination or the angling inwards, backwards, whatever you want to call it, technically speaking it's always possible, but at very long range this might be enough. Then we have some deck plating turtleback hybrid between 340, 200, 230mm. The flat deck armor is 200mm. The barbettes are absolutely massive with 560mm of rolled cemented armor. That rolls off the tongue nicely. Let's just take a break to take a sip of our favorite beverage. 660mm of rolled cemented armor with an armor slope constructional angle at 44 degrees. But there are some gaps for the guns, of course. Yeah, this is absolutely massive armor, but through this insisting on the diamond shape you cannot really angle it too well. Maybe take it on the broadside deliberately, because you have also some additional 50mm of internal barbette armor. And if we then switch to the X-ray, we can see the problem is that the ammunition is really high in the ship, at least the shells. So yeah, it seems to be some ready ammunition in the turrets, the ammunition here. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, even the propellant charges are above the waterline. So the Yamato will create some spectacularly well-shaped mushroom clouds. There is a lot of secondaries and heavy AA combination here, as you can see. Lots and lots and lots of 25mm make a almost useless rainbow, but quantity has a quality of its own, they say. We will see how far this quality ranges. Sadly, this diamond shape is also at the rear of the ship, so reverse angling doesn't give you an actual advantage. But still, that is a lot, and I mean a lot, of armor. At range, this will be an absolute monster, especially since it fields the 460mm or 18.1 inch Dash 45 Type 94 guns in 3 triple turrets. And yeah, we have to look at the reload because this is now particularly interesting. 31.7 seconds. For that caliber, that's alright with me. That is actually great. That's good. So you can really take your time, take the lead, take the careful aim, and then execute. And at range, the flight times, you know, it just matches well enough. And this brings us to the ammunition. The 460mm Type 0 common HE round is, for that caliber, actually not that good, but the sheer mass of it makes it worthwhile. Nearly 65 kilograms of TNT. Again, I repeat myself, British have achieved 88 kilograms with their 13.5 inch HE round. So this, because the damage effect and so forth gets calculated based off the TNT yield, the shell is somewhat okay-ish to use. Stock grind versus cruisers and destroyers might be alright, but other battleship, well, you know, they have armor for a reason. And that brings us to the AP. The 460mm Type 91 AP CBC round. The TNT equivalent charge is not too great, but not too terrible. 25 kilograms. This is what we can, for example, find already on the German Bayern class with its World War I 15-inch guns, but you get the idea. In fact, some British World War I AP round has 30 kilograms with 15 inches of caliber, so you get the idea. Mass velocity is 780 meters per second, but it retains it really well and has at 10 kilometers 686 millimeters of penetration. That is 19 millimeters more than the Iowa. And at 15 kilometers, you know, they can trade punches all day long with 603 millimeters at 15 kilometers. And even slightly better against 60 degrees angles of attack. But again, we will see how the sheer caliber and the sheer mass of nearly 1.5 tons of projectile mass gets into the calculations when you actually shoot somebody. Nobody wants to receive those shells, right? Yeah, so Yamato, absolute legend. I guess it will be an absolute menace where we have ultra long range shooting like enduring confrontation. I might give that game mode another go in this ship. That will be absolutely legendary. Italy. Oh boy, what do we have here? The Roma. Battle rating 8.0, rank 7. And we have no premium battleship at rank 6. Now, why does this good looking modern World War II battleship with 9 381mm -50 Ansaldo autocannons get a battle rating of 8.0? I wonder, is it the armor? Well, not really. We have here again a decapping plating above the main armor belt, which we can see is 280mm, so in combination it's 350mm. It's not too terrible, but it's definitely not up there with Yamato, etc. We have some other armor around here, upper belt and so forth. We can see that the bulkheads have 210 up to 280mm. The barbettes on the upper side have 350mm. Turret faces have 380mm of armor, and deck plating ranges from 102 to 162mm of armor. You have to drop your Fritz X from quite the height to get through this, and even over the machinery we have 112mm. Maybe you'll get some of the barbettes for the 90mm. The outstanding feature here is the raised rear triple turret, because it therefore has better firing angles, because the barrels can overget the secondary triple turret. And yeah, it looks like the placement of a super firing turret. And yeah, let's let the cat out of the bag. The problem is a 45.5 second reload that absolutely destroys the ship. Everybody that is a regular viewer on my channel knows how much I hate the 40-second reload on the US standards. This is destroying a modern battleship. Absolutely pointless, useless. I really have to bring myself to play this thing when it's out. You know, that is absolutely vile. Even though the magazines are well buried below the waterline, with the, I quote, sophisticated anti-torpedo protection system. Yeah, let's talk about the ammunition. So the stock SAP round has a 30 kilogram TNT yield. Penetration is in the middle, with 300 millimeters roughly at 10 kilometers, so you can really punish cruisers with this. The AP, the 381 millimeter Pala AP CBC round, has just 10.16 kilograms of TNT yield, a muzzle velocity of 850 meters per second. Projectile mass is 885 kilograms, and the penetration at 10 kilometers is 598 millimeters at 0 degrees angles of impact, and at 60 degrees angles of impact 222. That is somewhat better than the Bismarck's AP at range, even at angles, but the TNT yield is lousy, and therefore it continues the Italian trade of very lightweight AP round with, you know, low TNT yield. The ship looks really good. I find it fantastic. The AA, I'm not so quite sure how strong it actually will be or how effective. And yeah, that's it. Again, no premium here, no coastal fleet here. That brings us to France and to the Richelieu. The Richelieu is at 8.3. We have no premium. It comes after the Dunkirk, and it also has the unique French trademark of having the entire main battery in the front into quadruple turrets. And hopefully this patch, Gaijin introduces the mechanical split in the middle of the turrets. So if two barrels are knocked out with a turret hit, due to the internal armor plating, the other two barrels stay operational. First, let's have a look at the armor. 330 millimeters, that's a bit on the lighter side. We have some constructional armor slope of 15 degrees. The bulkheads range from 233 to 355 millimeters. We have a turtle back that is 50 millimeters but relatively steep, but it is an excellent shrapnel catcher. The barbettes are really well protected with 405 millimeters, and turret faces with 430 millimeters, but rather flat. Deck plating ranges from 170 millimeters over the magazines to 150 millimeters over the machinery. So in the rear we then have an increase in caliber size of the secondaries. We go to 9 16-inch guns, 6-inch guns, and yeah, lots and lots of 40 millimeters. This will be really interesting. The problem is, the advantage, should I say, is that there is no ready ammunition in the turrets. And if you go bow in, the first that gets hit is here the shells, which will disappear at the very same time as the propellant charges, so they don't blow up, so it's a minor ammunition detonation, and then the front turret is empty, protecting the entirety of the rear turret minus the thick turret face. So you then still have at least 4 barrels available for hopefully a long time. And we can see that the reload here is significantly better than with the Italian battleship, but still 34.2 seconds is on the longer end of reloads, and so a lot of battleship will absolutely out DPM you, even because they have maybe more barrels or shorter reload or both. And yeah, your penetration is interesting because we have 62 kilograms of TNT yield for the stock HE round. Again, it's okay. Then we have the 380mm OPF MLE 1936, 19.73 kilograms of TNT yield, and at 10 kilometers 545 millimeters of penetration, 206 millimeters at 60 degrees angles of attack. And as a tier 2 upgrade, we get the 380mm OPF MLE 1943 APCBC round, 19.74 kilograms of TNT yield, and we have 568 millimeters of penetration. So overall, it's an okay battleship, but yeah, the big names are obviously the Yamato, then the USS Iowa, that's not the one, that's the one, and then obviously the 2 German ones, the Gneisenau and the Bismarck. Britain is still honorable with the HMS Vanguard and the supercharged AP rounds. Really interesting to see what this does to the dispersion. And then we have France with the Richelieu, and then Italy, for me personally, sadly due to the long reload, comes last with the Roma. And then we obviously have specially freshly printed, newly discovered Russian documents with the Sovetsky Soyuz, which for me personally is a bit of a wild card. It absolutely has the stats to wreak havoc on enemies. Yeah, the AP is powerful, the armor is strong. We will see how it plays out. And that makes this patch really interesting, but it also reeks of desperation because there is still some gap. For the Germans, that's probably as good as it gets. Yes, we are still missing the Tippets. Maybe that comes as an event ship. After this, what comes after this? Well, H39 and Tippets. That's it for the Germans as far as I can tell. For the US, I'm a bit confused that Gaijin has not put more or different battleships between the likes of USS Nevada, Tennessee, and the USS Iowa in there. They could have gone with the South Dakota class or with the North Carolina class. Maybe one of them will come as a premium. We will see. Then for Britain, the Lion class, that would have been interesting. And maybe that will come as a premium, maybe. Japan, there were certainly certain drawings of other ships, and at this stage, when the power between the various battleships becomes so big between the nations, what they historically had, what was began to play, and so forth, now I would start to accept certain projects, but we have seen projects appear much earlier where it is debatable if they were making sense at the time. We all crave some historical accuracy, but then when it's there, well, we have to deal with the consequences, right? I'm actually not aware of too many things that the Italians had here. I think there is one that they could have thrown in, and for France, well, that's probably it, right? We will see definitely certain ships that are still missing. The entirety of the King George V class for Britain, for example, that would have been interesting. And Vanguard as a premium, that would have been nice. So here we are. this patch is massive in terms of tonnage, in terms of that every nation gets some of their, if not the best battleship that they historically had, or that they historically met up. We will see about this, and so I'm really interested in what you guys think, because I guess there will be a lot of discussion. I guess there will be a lot to talk about. Let me join you in the discussion, share your thoughts with me. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the bell. For you it's just a couple of clicks, for me it means the world. And as usual, we will see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.